Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Bava Metzia daf Lamed Tes. We're going to begin on Lamed Chesed with Beis, about 10 lines from the bottom. So we were discussing whether Moridin Karov L'Nichsi Shavui, whether or not if someone is in captivity, will we have a relative go and be able to work the land while this person is in captivity? So we're going to say that's actually Tanoihi, that this is a Machokas Tanoim, the Sanya. Hayar L'Nichsi Shavui. So someone went into a person's property because he was in captivity. Ein Metzia Simiyadai. So we say that we do not literally take it out of his hands. So we basically will not stop him. Let's say there is a rumor that the owner is in fact potentially coming back. And then he uprooted everything, so he was quick to grab everything before the owner potentially was going to come back. We don't know if he's alive, but we heard that maybe. So we say that he benefits. He actually apparently keeps these things. So let's say one of the relatives went to another country, and you heard that they died. Okay, so that is what we're talking about by Nichsi Shvuyin. So in a situation where you know that they died, as we saw in yesterday's daf, the point is that that person is probably not going to destroy the land because he thinks that he'll end up inheriting it. Let's say you inherit from the possessions of Nitushim, which we'll explain exactly what that is. We do take it out of his hands. So what is Nitushin, which literally means like forsaken fields? They left, however, we did not know that this person died. As far as we know, this person is still alive. So according to him, this is the case of Nitushim. That the din is, since this person may very well be alive, so therefore we're not going to allow you to go into that field. And you're not going to allow you to go to benefit from these fields. Rabbi Shemati Shahanatushim Kishvuyin. I actually heard that the Tushim are similar to Shvuyin, and therefore the din is that the Ein Moitzin Miyada, according to him, that you do not take it out. Rather, he could stay there. So we find that when it comes to the case of Shvuyin, which means we thought he died, apparently everyone agrees that he could go there. That we do allow, we are Meridin Karv Nechsei Shavui. However, when it comes to Nitushim and Samachlokas, which is a situation where we didn't hear that they died. So Hayarid L'Nechsei Ritushim. However, when it comes to Nechsei Ritushim, and Rashi says, come on, Mafarish Lahu, it's going to be explained, the Ritushim Mashma She'azvum Balim Medaitum, that he left on his own accord and his own choice. V'halchalahem. Givan since he could have made a declaration, Haridu Yarshin Nechasai V'Lotziva, he could have said, because he left on his own accord, he could have told his relatives to do something to take care of the land. He didn't. Shema Mina Lunichle. It's pretty clear he probably did not want him to do this, and therefore that's what it means when it comes to Ritushim. Nitushim, as Rashi says, Shinashim Balehem Bal Karchay, Kigan Shinishbu, if they were forced, they didn't have time to warn you. So maybe when it comes to Nitushim, the din is that it has the same status of Shivuyin, and therefore you're able to have a relative go there. A relative can go and take care of the property, but certainly not by Ritushim. So again, by Ritushim, he left on his own, and he chose before he left not to tell his heir to use his field. So he clearly objects for him to use the field. So that's by the case of Ritushim. However, Netushim is a machlokas, and therefore that is the point. Hayord l'nechse Ritushim moitzin osim yadav elhin nechse Ritushim. Harsha hayavivo achiv o echad min hamarishin kan ven yodel heichen holch. We don't know where he went, but he wasn't captured. He just decided to leave. He could have warned the person before, I'm about to leave. The fact is, since he didn't do so, relatives certainly cannot go in. So Maishna Hanach de Karluhu Netushim, Maishna Hani de Karle Retushim. What is the significance of Netushim, Retushim, as we continue to Lamed Testament else? So Netushim de Bal Korcha. So as we said, Netushim means he was like forced to leave. Dechsiv, as the pasuk says, Vashvius on the 7th year, Tishmatenu and Tashto. So therefore, we see from here like a force, something which was forced. You're forced to stop the use of the field on Shemitah. However, Afkata de Malka, there was some formal command from the king, from Hashem. Mitzvah Samelch, as Rashi says, Retushim the Medaitans, with your own consent. Dechsiv Eim al Banim Rutasha. So Rashi says Hainu Medaita V'lo not being held in captivity. We have a long Rashi over here. Okay, so let's quickly look at question 10. Mehem nichse netushim, mehem nichse ritushim, v'im aridun karva nichsehem. So netushim is that he was basically kicked out by himself, and you didn't hear that he died. So there's a machlokas whether maridin karva nechasav. However, ritushim, that's where he left on his own accord. And according to everyone, ein maridin karva nechasav, he's not allowed to go in the field, because if in fact he could have told him, yes, I'm leaving for a little while, I want you to use my field. The fact that he didn't do that must be his machbid that people should not do it. So therefore, if there's the difference between him living but with his das, then certainly in Maridin, you cannot go in the field. However, Bal Karcha, it's a malchokas. Tana, v'kulam shomen lehem ka'aris. You said when it comes to all these matters, he is considered like a sharecropper, one who takes care of this field. He's compensated like a third. So Gemara wonders, hey, which case is this going on? If we're talking about if he's held captive, in which not only is he held captive, but we said that's a case where you heard that he died. So Zoris v'niskarha. So Hashda Zoris v'niskarhavi. Since we said that even if you find out that he's alive, he can quickly detach and use everything, and he benefits. So my de ashbach meboy. So of course he should be able to get the improvements. El Retushim. It's telling us that when it comes to the case of Retushim, even though he's not supposed to go in the field, but he'll be at least treated as an aris. What do you mean? But Metzia miyado katani. You said he's Metzia miyado. He's not allowed to be there. So what do you mean he's treated like an aris? El anetushim. We're talking about a case where he was forced away from the land. Laman ilay murabanan ha'amar Metzia noisim miyado. So machlokas. According to Rabbi, he says he's not allowed to use the land. He said they're considered to be like shvuyin, and we said when it comes to shvuyin, it's no chiddush. Of course, you should be able to get the improvements. So kishvuyin v'lo kishvuyin, kishvuyin in my system yadai. It's like shvuyin in that you're not. He can use the field, and we're not going to take him away. V'lo shvuyin the il hasam zoros v'nisker. When it comes to shvuyin, so even though he finds out that the guy may be alive, he can benefit. Here we treat him like an aris. So how is this different from what we learned? A person who spends expenditures regarding the land of his wife. So haitzi harbe, let's say he spends a lot, v'achal kiman, she eats a little bit, or kima b'achal harbe, masha haitzi masha achal. Whatever was expended, that's it, and whatever was eaten is eaten. So what does that mean? Why? Question is, why is this different than the field where a person taken as a captive, that you were paid like an oris. Why don't we say the same thing in this case of this woman? So why do we say that what was spent is spent, what was eaten is eaten? Now, holodami eloha did not. Hamaitzi haitzas al nechsi ishtay katana, when she's young, kamaitzi al nechsi achardami. It's considered like the possessions of others. Almo, what do we see? Kivan deloy samcha daite. Since the husband isn't confident, as she could always do miyun, so he doesn't want to put money into the field. So tekinule rabbanan ki heichi dolafs dinhu. The chachamim say, you know what? Since your wife is a katana and she can always just walk out, and this is her field, you're not going to want to work the field. So therefore, we make a takat because she could just end the marriage by doing miyun. And since that's the case, you may not spend anything. So therefore, the Chachamim instituted that no, you're going to be paid like an oris. So hachinami, so too by the relative, the same thing. Because if we don't treat him like an oris, then he's not going to want to take care of the field either. V'kulin shom lehem ka'oris. V'kulin lesui mai. Let's say all. Less mai lesui. V'kulin lesui mai. So sui hadim Rav Nachman Rav Shmuel. It's coming to include the following case. Shabui shenishba. You have a person who's in captivity. Maridin karav v'nechasav. That person, his relatives can go into and care for the field. Yatzaladas, which is a case of ritushim, the guy left on his own. Ein maridin karav v'nechasav, as we said. He can't go into that field because, again, as we said before, because if he really wanted him to go into the field, he would have told him before he left. Rav Nachman didei omer boireach kishavui. Someone who is a boireach, someone who runs away, he has the same status as a shavui, someone who's like in captivity, which means he left by force. And therefore, because of that, ein moitzin. So borech machmas mai. Why was he running? Ilim machmas karga, because of taxes. Hainu ladas. That's, says Rashi, she'en lu mamal lefuraya. He doesn't have the money to pay. So that's ladas. She'en kan behala. That's not not to be confused. Ella borech machmas mardin. Rather, shahargas and nefesh. He killed someone uporsi hargen el shvichas damim, and he was going to be sentenced to death. So therefore, he was borech machmas like nefashus, because he was going to be killed or sentenced to death. So he ran away. So therefore, because that's like the same thing as something which is bal karchai, that he was in captivity, he was forced into this matter because he would have been killed. Question 11. So do we allow a relative to go into the field of someone who ran away? So if he ran away because of money, no. But if it's because he's trying to save his life, then yes. A person who's in captivity, Litzor, Anavim Litzor, Tamarim Ligdor, Zaysim Limsykes, and he has all these different fruits, olives or grapes, different crops, and they're about to be harvested. So based in Yarden Lechasav, so the based will go into his possession, into his field, and he'll appoint a guardian to be able to take care of this. And he'll cut and do all this harvesting of these different fruits for the owner. And after the Beis Din appointed this and everything is gone, then the carve can come. So does that mean it's going to remain by the apotropos forever? So apotropos ledikane lo moikminon. Says Rashi. What exactly does this mean? So Rashi says, "Ein based in tarchin lavakish apotropos la'anoshim gedolim." We don't trouble to have an apotropos for older people. Shidnis mali ziknam lafi shloim su The bishlam yasmi. I can understand if we're dealing with like young kids. Ika the shamalahu the havi apitropos l'davar mitzvah. That you're going to have an apitropos. However, for a kinyan lo shamilhu, that was not heard. Okay. Omer Rav Huna. Ein maridin katan nechse shavui. So you cannot have a child go into this field if this person, assuming that you allow a person to go into a field of someone who is in captivity or taken away forcefully, you would not allow that person to be a katan. Also, katan. If the child is in captivity and this child has a field, so we don't allow a relative to go into a child's field. Says Rashi, he can go in katan sheish lo ach mi'av. Let's say he has a brother from his father, ve'oso ach mi'av yesh lo ach me'em, and he has a brother from a mother. De'ish nachrihu eitzel katan. So that person is like a stranger to this katan. Ein maridin oiso ach me'em l'nechsi katan machmas karivas achiv shel zeh. We don't have him go onto his field. Back in the Gemara, v'karav machmas karav l'nechsi katan. And a karav cannot go for a karav to the karav and nechse katan. So, we're reading katan the nechse shavoi. We will not allow the katan to care for the land dilma mafsalahu, because he's a katan. We don't really trust him, and because he doesn't really know what he's doing, he's just a katan. He's inexperienced, so we don't want to appoint him to take care of the field. The karav machmas karav the nechse katan. We're talking about a brother from the mother's side. So the concern is he may end up keeping it for himself. Amar Rabbi Shamami Nam and Rav Huna ein machzikim b'nechsi katan. We can see from here that we do not have the din of a chazaka for the possessions of a katan as we continue the Lamed Testament Beis. V'afilu higdil. Even when he gets older, we're not going to say, this is Rashi, hakatan mishiyar l'soichai, v'achal gimel shanim b'fanav. Let's say he had gimel shanim 3 years of chazaka. Mishihigdil, once this kid gets older, lo havi chazaka. Even though he's older, it doesn't matter, it's still not a chazaka. The hayol tchilas diridasai was Seichai, when he went into this field, Havi Katan, this kid was just a Katan. Well, Yada, he's not going to know, Kishihigdil, Shehin Aviv, that when he's older was his father's. Lafikach, Micha. That's the only reason why he didn't protest. Normally, the din is by a Chazaka of Chescha Sabatim, that if you do not make a Machal within 3 years, so then that person owns it even though there's no star. However, if the person was a Katan at the time, so even though he's older, it's no proof that he didn't make a macha. Vo amrun el ba'achi de'aba. It's only an issue where it's from the brother of the father. So therefore, he potentially could end up holding on to it. However, if it's from the mother's side, it's not an issue, says Rashi. So it's not a problem. And then the Gemara says, the whole issue is by land. When it comes to a house, it's not an issue. Because when it comes to a house, it actually says there are neighbors. And they'll be able to testify and give it to the katan. Even though we said by land it's an issue, that's lo amran el deloy avid itda. That's only if there was no shtar chalukah, there's no document. Of avid itda, if he received a document, kal isla, there would be a voice as to who the correct owner is. The truth is that's not the din. Halacha lo shna achi de'aba, lo shna achi de'ima, lo shna arata, lo shna bate. It doesn't matter if it's the mother or the father's side, whether we're talking about land or houses. Lo shna avid itda, lo shna avid itda, loy machtinan. In all situations, we're going to say you cannot go into this person's field. And now the Gemara continues with the story. He savta the havi latlas benasa. So it's this person who had 3 daughters. Ishtaboy ihi v'chada, Barta. One of the three daughters was captive, as well as the mother. So there's two daughters of the three that are not in captivity. Idach tarti. Now these two daughters who are not in captivity, but nasa shchiva, one of them died. However, chadaminahu v'shavka yenuka, and she had a child. So now you have again three daughters. One of them is in captivity. One died, but she has a child, and there's just one other sister. So Rabbi Hechi Nevid, what should we do when it comes to again the land of the mother, the Safta, and this one of the three daughters who's in captivity? Look, minhu l'nichse biyada diachte. The maybe it should all be given to the sister, to this living sister. Dilma shchiva Safta, v'ein maridin kam nichse katan. So maybe the Safta died in the captivity, and a cart is not allowed to go for the sake of a katan, for a grandchild. Nuk minhu nichse biyada yenuka. So maybe instead it should be given over to the woman who died, and what should be given over to her daughter. Dilma l'shchiva Safta the emaridin katan nichse shavoy. But what happens if the grandmother is actually has not died? So we should hold the ein maridin katan nichse shavoy. So Rabbi Hilchot, therefore, we don't really have much of a choice, and therefore palga yavino la'achte. A half should be given over to this third daughter. The idach pal, the other third, mukmin le'apitrapa we'enuka. We'll have an apitropos for this other daughter who died, her daughter. Rabbi Eimer migu de mukmin apitrapa palga. Since we already have an apitropos for half, mukmin apitrapa idach palga. We're going to do for the whole thing. Asaif, at the end, shamu de shchiva Safta. We found out that when Safta was in captivity, the taka she died, but nothing about the daughter who was in captivity. So Mabaya tilta yavinu achta. You should give a third to the sister. With tilti yavinu le'nuka, and a third to the minor child. V'idach tilta, and the last third yavinan danka la'achte, v'idach danka moikminan le'abitrapa le'nuka. So basically, you should give her a third, and then the last third split in half. Ravo Eimer migu demokam apitrapa l'danka, mokmina nami apitrapa idach danka. So actually, we'll use an apitropos for the whole thing. Okay, Mari bar Isik asale acham bechuzoi. So Mar bar Isik he came. Asale acha, that his brother came from bechuzoi. Amalei polygly, divide it for me. Amalei loyadanalach. I don't know who you. Who? What do you mean divide? I don't even know who you are. My brother, who I don't know you. So also committed Rav Chisda, Shaper Karmelach. He's saying good that he doesn't know you. After all, we find this by Yosef Atzadik. Shenamar V'Yakar Yosef Asecha V'Himlo Hikaruhu. He recognized them, but they didn't recognize him. Mohamed Shiyatza B'Loi Chasim Azakan Uva B'Chasim Azakan. The difference between Yosef, the reason why the brothers didn't recognize him, is because before he didn't have a beard, and now he has grown a beard. Since this is the case, go and prove that you're the brother. I have witnesses. However, they're afraid to come because you're such a strong, powerful person. They didn't want to get themselves into trouble. So so then you should go and prove that you're not the brother. That's not fair. Understand? I'm the one who has the money, so I have to prove that he's not my brother? Why should I have to prove that he's not my brother? He should have to prove that I am his brother. This is how I'll judge you and anyone who's strong. At the end, also Sahadi v'lo Masadi. They ended up coming to testify, however, did not testify. So, Omalei Tartil Avdi. Two things they're not going to do. In other words, they're not going to go so far as even to lie. Says Rashi, Asu Sahadi Voma Sahadi. Those Adim, because of the fear, will lie for me also. No, they may not come, but they're not going to actually go and lie. Also, so that's what it means. Tarti Abdi. Losof Asu Sahadi Diachuhu. It turned out there were witnesses that in fact he was his brother, that he should divide. Normally lifagli nami mipardese ubustani. I want you to also keep in mind the vineyards, this nice area with trees, the shosel. So Armalei Shaper Karmalach, it's a good thing that you mention this. That not Heniach Banim Gedolim. Ukatanim, if you have big and small kids, Vishpicho Gedom Esachasim, and the older kids improved the land. So then is Hishpicho Emsa. It gets divided in the middle, which means it's divided up evenly. As we continue to Mem Amud Aleph, V'chein Omer Rav or Meraba Hishpicho Emsa. Amli Abai Midam Yehasim Gedolim Gabi Getanim Yade V'kam Machale. So maybe the reason why it's split is because over there we're dealing with Gedolim. So Gedolim connected to Katanim, V'kamachle, they'll end up being Michael. So mi yada the Mechel, he couldn't say such a svar. So Galgal Milsa, the matter unfolded. Umatal Kamed Ravami, Amrulahu, Gedolim Mizu, even greater than this. Shomun Lahem Ka'aris, we mentioned that while you're in the field, you'll be compensated like a sharecropper. Hashda didei lo yavinale ahad ruha. Even his own field doesn't have to return his own land. Halakamei de Rav Chisa Amruhu midami hasim rishus nachas hachalab rishus nachas. It's all totally on the rishus. So od katan who bein marin katan lenechse katan. So this actually was a katan, so that became a different issue. Adrula Kamid Ravami Yamulhu Lo Simua Kamai. The matter was not concluded. The Katanhu. So let's see Rashi. Krishus based in Nachti. The Meridian Konexi Hacha Lobershus Nachas. Mishkish Yared Zel Lasaicho Lo Nimach Babasin. But Oid Imbal Malech Lo Haya Meridian Iso. Okay, let's see question 12. So Mar Bar Isik Asile Acha Upasik Rav Chista Sheshel Ach B'Mashish Biach Mariu Emsa. She could split in the middle. So Maishno Rav Chista Ha'ovdom Adin Karv Hayored L'Nikse Shavoy Chenaitel Ka'aris. We already said that he should be paid like a sharecropper. So Hasam Bershus Nachas. He went with permission. Hachashol Bershus. What Katan who Ha'ach, the brother was a Katan, in Meridin Karban Nechse Katan. Okay. Let's see, maybe another question. TA 25. Hamoitzi Haitzai Sa Nechse Ishto Ba'achol Kima Madinai. So this is just a straight Mishnah. On Lamates, and we said when it comes to, this is question 25. I got it completely wrong. Be'ishto gedoyla. If your wife is older, masha haitzi masha achal. What the expenditures were expended and what was eaten was eaten. Be'ishto katana shamnu ka'aris. But when it comes to an ishto katana, there we're more concerned. Because again, she could always just do miyun, so that the person's not going to be samech das. So therefore, for that reason, there are misakin that he should be paid like an oris. That's TA 25. Okay. Question TB 25. Mehem nichse netushim, mehem nichse retushim, me'im aridim korab nechsehem. So we had this already, which was question really 10 on Lamed Chesamad Beis. So nitushim kamo shavuyim bal karcha v'lo medas v'yachol liyared karv nechsehem al v'nechse retushim shezem medas ein morid Karev l'nechsehem. So it's pretty close. So when it comes to Ritushim, certainly not. When it comes to the din of Nitushim, it's a machlokas, which is a case in which it was with das, that Bal Karchai, rather, that he left being forced, and also V'lo Shoma B'hem Shemes, and you did not hear that he died. Ad Kan.